find the best cryptocurrency investments, check out Token Metrics, use my affiliate link for a discount. Please follow me on Twitter and join my official Telegram announcements channel. Also, please follow me on bittube.video. You can also follow me on Odyssey. These are both censorship-resistant platforms, and every now and then I am going to post a video which isn't going to be on YouTube. There is a lot going on. Okay.
It's so crazy.
What we should do then is we should move on. What's happening with Bitcoin? And so then what's happening with the market in general?
What was Bitcoin at before COVID, before lockdowns?
If you want, I can have a look.
What was the price? Basically, what happens is they do this giant stimulus bill, 1 trillion, 2 trillion, 4 trillion, 10 trillion, whatever it is, and that Biden's pushing another bill through, just like, after Biden get in, here's your $2,000 check, and everyone basically took their check and bought Dogecoin, right? So that sent the crypto through the roof. And basically, whenever they print this money, a lot of it ends up offshore. A lot of it ends up in the Bitcoin. A lot of it ends up into crypto. They're trying to print up another 2 trillion, 4 trillion, 6 trillion. And they put this huge bill in with 60,000 pages and $10 billion a page, and it's this thick and it weighs 40 kilos and you can barely carry this bill and no one's read it. And all that money is going to get laundered offshore basically. And just whatever they said the number is, it might be 10 times bigger than that or 4 times bigger. There's always a bunch of loan guarantees and hidden money stuffed in there that, they don't even mention, or money that's authorized. So what we're going to see is, I think when this infrastructure bill gets pushed through, we're seeing the worst economic crisis in 100 years, first of all. And at the same time, we're seeing the crypto markets and financial markets going crazy. And we're going to see eventually, I don't know when, but there will be a stock market crash. And it might take 3 years, 2 years, a year. I don't know what the timing is going to be on that. When the stock market crash occurs, the U.S. will start a war. This is what they always do is, when the government economy is doing really bad, they need to inject money in, they're going to start a war. And whether that's going to be a war at Iran or it's going to be a war against China or who the war is going to be against, I have no idea what war, but there's going to be a war, a space war, a COVID war, some type of war.
A hot kinetic war, not an economic war or anything like that?
It could be just spending a lot of money, or a space war, or a Cold War, or remember after the dot-com bust, the boom, immediately what happened was 9/11 and then the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq, because when you have these economic busts, these companies, they're barely operating actually, and the government needs an excuse to print up a huge amount of money, and and these companies are going to go under. They have huge overheads. They're funded by the government. A lot of the military spending was being cut back under Trump, and they need to. This is just what they do, right?
Yep. So just to answer your question, the 1st of January 2020, Bitcoin was $7,200.
And what's it now?
It just touched $60,000 at the time of recording.
Yeah. So we saw Bitcoin hit like 30, then it lulled, and then this infrastructure bill came in. They start printing up all this money, and a lot of this money makes its way to crypto. But this time, the reason Bitcoin is going to be over 100, I thought 80,000, okay? Mm-hmm. But it's already at 60. 80,000 is just going to, no one's even going to care if it hits 80,000 at this point. It's just, I want to have 20, whatever, right? What's happening this time, there's going to be massive inflation, increase in food prices. When the food prices go up, you're going to see rioting. And the rioting is going to be in Egypt, Syria, Yemen, every country, basically, Brazil, Argentina, every country that's importing food. You saw what happened with the South African, as soon as the inflation started and the riots broke out in South Africa, and a lot of this is related to food prices. Everyone knows the food prices go up, the riots start, and we're looking at even 100% increase, okay? So a lot of governments are, Chinese government, everyone's bracing for the impact of this to getting ready to buckle down, and a lot of countries aren't prepared. So you're going to see political instability, and when the government riots start, the governments collapse. When the governments collapse, the first thing that gets diluted is the treasury. Everyone knows that too. Riot, food prices go up, you get riots. Riots start, you get political instability. The government is getting kicked out. The first thing to do is loot the treasury and run away with all the money. In Afghanistan, the president of Afghanistan, he loads a helicopter full of money, and he had stuffs $70 million in cash on a freaking helicopter and tries to fly out of the country. And the helicopter can't take off because the money's too heavy, so they have to throw money off the helicopter and stuff it in a truck or something, So, I have so much money, it won't fit on the plane won't take off. Oh, it's too much money. You got it's too heavy.
You use Bitcoin.
Yeah, you should use Bitcoin. So you're going to see a lot of this money flying overseas, and then you're going to see governments freezing it. The old new government coming in is going to try to freeze it. So a lot of that money is going to make its way into crypto. Inflation is going to be through the roof. We saw Argentina's currency collapses constantly. Iran has a crisis, a trade sanction. The money flows into Bitcoin. It floods into Bitcoin. So during political instability, like Arab Spring and so on, a lot of these people moved a lot of money into Bitcoin very quickly because the instability of the currency and the geopolitical situation and the need to get the money out of the country, and they can't really. And you saw the Panama Papers. And what was this recent hack? You have the CIA,
Pandora Papers.
The Pandora Papers, the Panama Papers.
We didn't name any American billionaires or anything because, of course, Americans they're all very honest.
They're hacking these offshore companies and legal firms, and they're leaking this stuff to these fake NGOs to twist their balls, basically, and blackmail people. And these people don't really, you put your money in Panama, and you're going to get they shut down Switzerland, and so all this money that they're printing is really bottled up, and they're trying to keep it in the U.S. stock market. They're trying to keep it in the real estate market, but it's going to go into Bitcoin. They're trying to keep it from going into gold. They're trying to, but they can't. And gold's very heavy. Like if you go to Japan, and you have a little gold ring. They make you take off your ring and weigh it and give it a receipt. And if you lost a receipt, they'll confiscate it when you leave the country. If you go to EU and you have some chains, they're like, "Is that gold?" And they'll weigh your chains, and it's too heavy. They'll just take it. It's like you think you're going to be in the EU running around like with 2 kilos of gold and what is that? 120K? And they're already confiscating it. If you're trying to move $100 million, how heavy is that? You're going to just stick it on your yacht and try to sail to somewhere and hope that the customs on the other end doesn't confiscate it and just steal it, So there's all these problems that, dealing with this money. So it's going to go into Bitcoin. And the U.S. government and the European governments know that when they print up this money for the stimulus, that it's going to end up in the Bitcoin, and they don't want it to go into Bitcoin. So they're planning. Even since January, remember what I said last year, which was in January and February, the European governments and the US government were going to implement a new strategy to shut off crypto. So they shut off the bank accounts of Kraken, they shut off the bank accounts of many of its exchanges, of Binance and so on, and they tried to restrict all the money to go through Coinbase so they could sort of control the flow of how much money is coming in and the withdrawal limits and the deposits and control who it was that could deal with the crypto money. Then this year they started shutting down personal bank accounts and credit cards, even credit cards for people that were in political parties the government and banks didn't like. So they're shutting down the credit cards of political, you're a right-wing party. Oh, we're going to shut your credit cards down. All your party members, get a list, shut their bank accounts down. You're crypto influencer. We're going to shut your bank account down. You're a developer that works at a crypto company. We're going to shut your credit cards down, your bank account. And then they have the IRS is going to get the records of every person, every transaction over $600 for bonds, stocks, crypto, everything. And the reason is so that they can make a list of people that are dealing in crypto, and they're going to give that list to these banks and tell them, shut these accounts down. We want you to investigate these accounts. They might not just shut it down. We're saying, well, there's some activity on these accounts. You need to investigate. And the banks, it's like the commissar. Like, we think this guy did something, and find out what he did wrong. And it's just like the police meet the arrest. You need to meet the police in the gulag. They need to meet the arrest quota. You need to arrest enough people this month. And and so this is, these banks are just going to terminate the people's accounts. No reason, just say, because just responding to these letters and what the government's doing is going to cost too much money to do a manual review unless you're a millionaire. So Bitcoin is for people in the US and Europe is going to be this like a rich person's offshore bank account, and people are going to be on their yachts trading Bitcoin for paintings and gold and NFTs or some shit, and who the hell knows? It's going to be some rich person's thing that these rich people do offshore. It's not going to be something that someone can just use in the United States because they're trying to control the inlet for the money. And what's going to happen is crypto is going to be used to pay rent. It's going to be used for person-to-person payments, but you're not going to be able to cash it out to dollars very easily. Mm-hmm. It's going to circulate now instead of being something that is used to convert to US dollars, right? So instead of being just a speculative asset, it's going to be spent into the economy and this new peer-to-peer economy and become the underground economy. So Bitcoin. So what's going to happen? First of all, they're going to put up a lot of money. That money is going into Bitcoin from the stimulus bill, the European bailout and the US bailout. Second thing that's happening is these elites in these countries, once the political instability begins because of the inflation and increase in food costs, what's going to happen is, they're paying farmers to destroy their crops, and they're trying to increase the price, and that's going to result in mass political instability everywhere, riots everywhere. A lot of money is going to be moving into Bitcoin for that reason. And there's another thing happening in China. And what's happening in China, and so we can get into, so all of this is just very predictable. This is what happened before. Anyone who's paying, I'm people like, wow, but I've said this 100 times, and anyone paying attention knows this.
Why are you saying, you're saying it could touch 200,000 by the end of this year? Why are you saying?
Or January, February, a lot of stuff is, I know my personally, I thought it was going to 85, but it's already at 60. And this infrastructure bill hasn't dropped yet with this. And when you dump another $2 trillion into the market, where is that money going to go, right? So it's just crazy. So we're going to see that happen. And this is on top of the greatest economic crisis in the last 100 years, is why it doesn't make sense that these markets are going up. There's going to be eventually a stock market crash, and it might take 3, 4, or 5 years. And when that happens, there's going to be another war. Bitcoin will go down with the stock market, but then over the next 3 to 6 months, it will go back to where it was before and continue to increase. So we're seeing, they're even suggesting that they're going to tax you on unrealized capital gains. So if you bought an asset like a house or stock, and because the government's printing money, the price went up double, they're going to say, well, you owe us 40% tax, even though you didn't sell the asset. So if your house went from $1 million to $2 million, you have to sell the house because you now owe the government $1 million in taxes. Even without selling the house, they're going to tax you on the gains of assets that you haven't sold yet. And they're taxing unrealized capital gains. So they're putting in a new higher tax rate. And if you die, the money that your house or whatever, anything of your children is going to have a massive tax rate, and the government's going to take the money. Because they have to take the money out of circulation because they're printing trillions. And if you have Bitcoin, they're going to track your Bitcoin and say, well, you think you have 120 Bitcoin. Bitcoin's $1 million. You bought it at 10,000. Now you have to give us half your Bitcoin. Give us we'll take the Bitcoin as taxes, right? They're going to charge a 40% tax on the 30, 40% capital gains tax. And they're intending to tax unrealized capital gains, meaning your retirement savings. You put your money in the stock market and it's going up. And you don't have to pay the tax until you sell. Now they're going to say every year that it goes up, you have to liquidate to pay the tax. So they're trying to push this through. Whether or not they'll do that, obviously you can't do that while you have offshore bank accounts because people are going to move the money overseas. So we see a lot of attacks on offshore bank accounts. And obviously with crypto, if the offshore bank accounts are shut down, which they've already destroyed the offshore banking sector, it's completely destroyed. All that money is going to go into crypto.
And won't people move from Bitcoin into Pirate Chain and Monero as privacy coins?
They're trying to
get into Pirate Chain Monero and move it back into Bitcoin.
So this goes back to, remember this article attacking Skycoin? Then that article immediately got picked up by so the New Yorkers attacking Skycoin. Why are these people attacking us? Right? They're first they attack Bitcoin, then they attack Skycoin. So we're in the big leagues now. We're being attacked by the big boys. We're over the target. They're shooting flak at us, right? So John Podesta and Stacey Abrams, John Podesta for Pizzagate, Clinton's campaign manager, has a non-profit think tank called the Center for American Progress. These no 9/11, new Pearl Harbor. I don't even know what to say about these guys. It's just some weird. The Center for American Progress, okay, and they published an article saying that the SEC.
Part 3 of this video will not be on YouTube. You can find it on Odyssey and on BitTube and on Library.